A very good evening. Welcome to another exciting edition of Big Talk, a program where we highlight political issues around Nigeria. Tonight on the program, we'll take a look at a party that used to pride itself at one time as the biggest political party in Africa. In fact, they said that some members of the party said they were going to rule Nigeria for 80 years, for 50 years, and they kept giving figures. But that was until 2015 when the All Progressive Congress actually won that general elections, right? You could take it to a court of public opinion as to were there electoral malpractices and all. But INEC declared the APC winner of the election, Professor Atahiru Jiga at the time. And since then, it seems that their house is depleting every day. And tonight on the show, we're trying to see if we can be joined by one of the persons who is vying to actually lead that platform at this time. Talking about the People's Democratic Party, PDP. My name is Ubong Musoro, and I'm saying welcome to the show, Big Talk. Let's go for a short break, and when we're back, we'll get straight into the discussion. What happened? When did this political party get it all wrong? And we'll also bring you some political discussions making waves in the country tonight. Let's go for this break. When we're back, Big Talk continues. All right, so let's check some stories that are actually making waves on platforms tonight, as we are actually used to bring it to you every night on the program to help you understand what is actually going on in the country. Let's see if we can take the first story now. It says, Borno tops in voter online pre-registration, INEC. So Borno State has recorded the highest number of voter online pre-registration nationwide as of week 9, according to the newly released data from the Independent National Electoral Commission today. So in all of the states, Borno states have the highest number of people who are pre-registering online for the voter accreditation exercise done by INEC. You know, the other time I brought you data, and as we keep going, I'll be giving you data as to how the registration is actually going. We'll take another story now. Algerian opposition figure jailed 2 years for insulting president. So an Algerian court today sentenced opposition figure Fattah Geres to 2 years in prison over a Facebook post judged to have insulted President Abdelmadjid Tebboune. His lawyer told one of the news sites that actually covered that story. So you insult the president in Algeria, you go to jail. Is that good? I don't know. You judge for yourself. But we know that we have free speech, right? And we're not saying that people should demean people, but you could criticize governments and talk about policies, but not. It's a tiny slope that you need to know how to walk very finely, right? We mustn't be a republic where people insult people, but we could disagree, and we could disagree very well, socially disagree on policies and issues, and we could also approach courts of competent jurisdiction. We have all of those that could be done. So I'm totally against the muzzling of free speech and opposition. That should not be done in Africa as we try to practice this democracy. Let's take another story tonight. Senate approves life imprisonment for a child defilement convict. All right, so the Nigerian Senate have approved that those who are found guilty of defiling minors will stay life imprisonment. This is a move to stem the rising tide of child sexual abuse across the country. Tonight, one of our anchors talked about child education, girl child education, and it's very important that we are able to look at some of these issues and we are able to actually move across with these issues. All right, so just the other day, I covered a PDP event where we had one of the committees, our accommodation subcommittee, talk about their plans for the party and what they're going to do. We saw the chairman of that committee being the secretary, governor of Osun State, Governor Ademola Adeleke. He was speaking, and former Minister of Special Duties, Turaki, also spoke very glowingly about the party. But remember that this is a party that during its 101 convention came out and read a communique with Peter Mbah at the back, standing in support of that communique, and mentioned that Governor Peter Mbah of Enugu State is the secretary of the National Convention Planning Committee of that party. But where is Peter Mbah today? He is now a member of the APC, barely just a month to their convention of the PDP. What is happening? Tonight on the program, we'll interrogate the PDP issues that are going on and where they got it wrong. As we see, we're still trying to see if we can get one of the persons who is saying that he can lead the party to an El Dorado. And people are asking, at this moment you have just 8 governors. Is there a way forward for this particular political party? Let's go for this break. We'll come out and dig into the conversation tonight. With less than a month to the PDP National Convention, members of the Accommodation Subcommittee met to review hotel arrangements, delegate accommodation allocation, transport links from hotel to convention venue, and welfare support for attendees. The chairman of the committee and governor of Osun State, Senator Ademola Adeleke, said accommodation planning is a critical component of a successful convention and must reflect the unity and organization of the PDP.
So I don't want anybody to lose hope. I want everybody to keep hope alive. Contribute your quota. But if you know you don't belong here, nobody's forcing you to stay in PDP. But for you to say you want to stay in PDP and destroy it, it will not work. Yes. Because God is on the throne.
Also speaking, former Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Kabiru Tanimu Turaki, said accommodation logistics will be handled professionally to avoid confusion during the national event.
Let me say that each and every one of you were carefully selected into this committee. If you look at yourselves and the people around you, you will see that this committee is different from other committees.
With accommodation arrangements now at advanced stage, the committee says it is confident that delegates attending the PDP National Convention in Ibadan will have a seamless experience. Ubong Usoro for Global Television News. All right, so tonight on the show, as we are expecting to have Sidi Bomi. Sidi Bomi is one of the persons saying he can lead the PDP, and was supposed to speak to us tonight on the program. We'll try to see if we can still establish connection with him, because at the last time we had that interaction, he was at Meduguri at the PDP secretariat in Borno, still trying to campaign and covey delegates as to why he should be the one to reposition the party, if the party can actually be repositioned. But joining us tonight on the program, I have my colleague and also a National Assembly correspondent, Topsy Gimba, as we try to make sense of the discussion. Tonight we'll speak about PDP convention issues and interrogation. Mr. Gimba, I've been following this particular political party for a while now, and the convention is coming up the 14th and 15th in Ibadan, or your state capital. And just before then, we saw 2 months ago where they had their 101 NEC meeting. At that NEC meeting, they came out with a communique and spoke about the fact that they've chosen Ibadan, or your state, as where the venue for their convention, National Elective Convention. And they also talked about the fact that officers, they called some names there. They called Governor Fintiri, Adamawa State Governor, as the chairman of the Convention Planning Committee. They called Governor Peter Mbah as the secretary of the Convention Planning Committee, and went on to call some other governors. But today, Peter Mbah has been replaced by Ben Obi, who is now the secretary of that Convention Planning Committee. So for people like Sidi Bomi, who feels that he has what it takes to reposition the party, and is even going at his expense to different states, meeting people and telling people why he should be the one meeting delegates, not people now, just the delegates, why he should be the one to lead the party. Do you see any future for this particular party? But before I talk about their future, let me ask you, what happened? Where did they get it wrong?
Well, thank you so much, Owo, for giving me that opportunity to talk with you on this big talk on issues related to PDP, whether or not they are going to make headway going forward. One is still a guess for some of us. As a matter of fact, PDP failed to manage itself properly at the time it got power and ruled for 16 years. And maybe because they became so arrogant in the process, because they thought no opposition very strongly to challenge the party to any level. But we saw what really happened. And so with that mindset, among the members of the political party that is PDP, felt nobody were able to challenge them, and they had error projected that likely to stay longer than necessary in power. And so the sweetness of the power, made them not to see the reality of the day, and they mismanaged themselves until they plummeted and landed in a more like a crashing form. That's exactly what happened with them. And today, they are struggling to survive. Now they have lost power and they're struggling to survive. Whether or not they'll be able to rise up again like Phoenix is yet unknown to most of us. But of course, what we are seeing, they're already at the ashes of the problem. Until some magical efforts are put in place, they might not successfully come back like one to be able to challenge any political party, even wrestle and win might not be so easy for them. Because you can see the meeting, you projected a particular video where I saw Adeleke standing in a small house. You can see how pathetic it is.
It was just for the accommodation planning committee.
Yes, but that small house, if they had the power, despite the fact that if PDP were to be in government, it would have been a small, tiny room like the way we saw. It's gradually becoming fewer than necessary at the end of the day, and it portends a very bad image for the party going forward. But like I often say to people, nobody knows, because everything depends with whoever becomes the leader. Usually, for anything to become successful in society, it comes with an idea of a person. The person has a very good idea, and then it cannot become multiple in nature for people to embrace. That's what life is. We don't all think to get result. One person thinks, and then others follow to get result. So I wouldn't know whether they are likely to get what they want by giving this power, the chairmanship, by the time they meet at their convention in Ibadan, whether or not they will let a person who has the sympathy of the party and to be able to work in the way the party will regain itself back, and then to be able to contest election in 2027 is still yet unknown to most people.
All right, so the fundamental question will be, for a party that prides itself at the point as being the largest political party in Nigeria, and there are a lot of questions as to, have they been able, since they left power, have they been able to represent opposition very well? Because we saw the APC in opposition. People like Lai Mohammed, they were always interrogating the government. They were always, giving alternative solution. And the opposition was very vibrant at the time. Tunde Bakare was our current president. Those were the faces of the opposition in Nigeria. We could talk about people like former President Muhammadu Buhari. He was very significant in the opposition movement in this country. But it seems some people have argued that the PDP have not been a good opposition party. They've not been able to play opposition very well.
Yeah, sure. I understand your perspective. PDP suffers what it is suffering today because at a point it was in power. If you compare what used to be, like the way APC came on board to be able to raise power until it received power from PDP, it was coming like a brand new political party. And so people have had enough with PDP then. So they were looking for a savior. That was the mindset they had. They were looking for a savior. And so if a savior will come like the way it came from APC, you should agree with me to a very large extent that the followership will be easier for whoever that was coming at that background to challenge a ruling party who people have felt it has had enough and they wanted to check it out. So that's exactly what, so when you make that comparison, you need to understand the background. For now, PDP, who had ruled before, and is trying to get back, it's going to take a very whole lot of exercise for them to do that, because it is not a new party. You understand what I'm saying? Right. And then looking at the way things are, it's not the way like the way they used to be in the past. And so it's going to be a very, very tough game for PDP to emerge victoriously at the end of the day, because we have known the name before. And even people who are supposed to campaign for it to get back to itself like the way it used to be in the past are no longer there because they were there before. And so you are likely to see a kind of depleting of numbers of those who ought to be in the party, because it's no longer a new party, but it's been an old party, and it has ruled, and Nigeria cannot predict the kind of pattern of leadership they might offer at the end of the day.
Right, but let's look at this way. Outside here, in what people call Senna climbs, well, I don't really like using that language. In other countries, right, we have situations where we have political parties, change power. It moves from one political party to the other, from one political party to the other. Let's use the US and the UK, for example. In the US, we have the Democrats and the Republicans, right? Donald Trump was a president. Even before Donald Trump, Barack Obama was a Democrat elected president, and he was president. And after his tenure, we had Donald Trump, who still is a Republican. He became president for 4 years and went into the polls and lost election to a Democrat who came in and was president for 4 years. And now, back to the saddle, are Republicans. Donald Trump, who won election again, and is also a Republican. The same thing that we've seen happen with in the UK. All right, the Prime Minister was conservative at a point. Now, the current Prime Minister is conservative, but we had a Labour Prime Minister prior to that, and we could have a Labour Prime Minister moving forward, right? And we keep seeing these democracies just move from one party to the other. And for information's sake, the Democrat and the Republican parties are not the only parties in the US. You could run as an independent candidate. There's a Green Party. There's a lot of other parties in the US. But you see, these political parties seem to have captured the whole nation, the two political parties, and powers rotate between one side and the other. Why can't we have that kind of, why in Nigeria? You could look at the states and maybe also talk about the national level.
Yeah, quite very interesting. The scenario you painted, quite very good. But then you have to understand the two countries. Nigeria is not United States of America. There are strong institutions already built in that. People are driven by conviction. What do you have to offer? And everybody there is very fine. Very few suffer like they always suffer in Nigeria. In Nigeria, Nigerians, you dangle a little bit of this palliative to them, you have actually taken their mind off for an ideologically point of view that's supposed to hold them together. Because largely the number suffers, because people are really hungry, and so whoever comes and gives them money, they accept that easily. But in these developed climes like America or United Kingdom, everybody is to himself. So they assess you by what you offer to give, the campaign you are making, and to be able to meet up with some of these campaigns, promises you are making. So that at the end of the day, they will hold you accountable if you don't do that exactly. If you don't do exactly like the way you campaign, the next election, they vote you out. If no matter how rich you might be. In the case of Nigeria, it's not like that. We Nigerians see now, the driving force is palliative.
But we've had situations where governments and governors have voted out. We've had governors who were voted out and they had to come back again. For instance, former Ekiti State Governor Ayo Fayose, did 4 years and came back.
I don't want to narrow it down.
And in different states, in different states, we've had governors who were also voted out.
I don't want you to narrow it down. We're looking at the country.
Yeah, the country generally.
If you check, these are pockets of sincerity you get to see. But at the larger level, it doesn't work.
I love that language, pocket of sincerity. So we have it just here and there. And then
it fizzles out. You don't see it again happening. But when it comes to all of us participating, it becomes a very big problem. Because the winner takes all, because he offers palliative to those who he believes are not feeling fine. And exactly that's the way we are. And the institutions are not even strong. In Nigeria, take for instance, we watch all what happened when Donald Trump was voted ballot the way it happened. You didn't see police all over the place. In Nigeria, the security personnel even found more than the number of voters in a polling unit. And you don't know their aim. Are they really actually, and at the end of the day, they will vote and leave without anybody fighting, but then there are many in number. So what is the essence of this? They militarize the entire process. So the question here is, this personnel they are using, whether DSS, that's the undercover, or those who are in uniform, they all do that to achieve a particular aim. And that's the most when you see that. Meanwhile, they will tell you they are protecting us so that to avoid, ballot snatching and many other things like that. But at the end of the day, in any polling unit, you see people voting and leaving. Meanwhile, the security personnel are far more than the number of people voting. That shows how bad we are in the system. In most of these places you mentioned, you don't even see anybody coming to guide you or whatever it is. So we still have a long way to go. So when you make this comparison, looking at Nigeria and then compare Nigeria with the United States, I think it's you are belittling America in politics. Because Nigeria is not there yet.
Yeah, but we are on our way there, right? We seem to copy the democracy where the practice.
I think
I think we've grown, Mr. Gimba. You also look at the successes that we've made, in our electoral system, right? We've made, for the first time in a country where people could not have believed, we had a political party, like you mentioned, relatively relatively new to the scene with the APC. They came out and they won the election and was announced, meaning that if the PDP, maybe, I like that you talk about this assumption now, if the PDP could muster enough political willpower, maybe if Nigerians also vote them, they could also win election in 2027.
That can happen, Upong, because I told you the premise of this that might not really happen is because PDP as a political party had been in power before for 16 years.
Right.
So everybody knows the antics of PDP. But why?
What is the antics? No, Mr. Gimba, what is the antics?
Let me tell you the pattern of leadership. Let me tell you why it became so easy for APC to have its way until you were able to become the winner of the day. It's because people were looking at who will not be a messiah, taking us from the hands of what they so-called called the people who they consider them to be lion hyenas, who eat everything without even allowing a piece for us to eat. And that was then they were painting the picture of PDP. They saw PDP as only for themselves without any considering the interests of Nigerians. And so people began to complain, and the feeling of this became so high. And so when somebody came up for entirely a party that had never ruled before, they now saw these people as messiahs. And they easily accepted, the campaign promises they were making. But at the end of the day, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that.
You leave that for Nigerians to decide, because
I am a Nigerian.
Those in a particular party will argue because I remember the APC campaign on tripartite promises of corruption, end corruption, economy, and security. And
then after the first,
but they said they did well.
After the first tenure of Buhari, it became very tough for him. You know it, because what he said at the time he was campaigning to come in like the way he came in, it didn't work. It didn't implement what he said to us, and Nigerians began to feel a little bit uncomfortable. They wanted to vote him out. It became so serious for him to win in 2019 and then rule again to 2023. It wasn't easy for Buhari, because we saw the lapses of him when he became the president of this country. The promises he made, or the personality of Buhari that people saw about him, wasn't the Buhari that we saw when he became the head of state, or the president. And so we began to feel a little bit disenchanted, worried, and then completely lost focus. So
if there's a party, as we look at the PDP now and all of the issues that they have, so if there's a party that is coming up, like somebody like Somi, who is aspiring to lead the PDP, you are saying there's no need for that aspiration because the PDP can never rule Nigeria again. Is that the assertion?
No, I'm not putting a barrier to them. They can rule, but it's going to take them a hard time to get to that position again. Right. And you can even see it. So many of them are even leaving the party. If many of them are leaving the party, who then becomes the leader? Who then votes for them? That's the way it is. So I'm not saying they might not be able, because by the time Nigerians become fed up with the present administration, anybody that offers any little bit of idea to them, they will now follow. That's the way I see it. But I wouldn't know whether or not PDP has this mantra to be able to take power back.
Right. Talking about people that have left the PDP, let's look at some of the persons that have left in recent times. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who was a member of the PDP in 1999. He says He's part of the founding members of the PDP, but he's left the party now. And we've had people like Senator David Mark, who's been a very staunch PDP member. He's left the party. Of recent, we've seen the governor of Delta State, former governor of Delta State, and the current governor of Delta State, Obuori, and the former 2023 vice presidential candidate of the PDP, Dr. I'm trying to remember his name now, all right? He's also left the party. The governor of Akwa Ibom has left the party, the PDP. And as we were talking, we saw the secretary, Ifeanyi Okowa. We saw the secretary of this convention planning committee, Peter Mba, who was the secretary appointed by the party. He accepted to be the secretary and just leave 1 month to the convention. What is happening?
Yeah, that is the politics is like that. That's
secrets of the party. Yeah. Because as a secretary, you are privy to information.
Yes, that's how politics is being played in Nigeria. And sometimes I see it because some of them, their hands are equally not clean. If their hands are not clean, the security personnel might just come to them secretly and say, okay, if you don't leave this political party, we're going to make your offenses known to the public. And some of them become so jittered, afraid of what their names might become publicly, and so they will leave. That is my opinion.
Right.
Yes, because some of them, you will imagine, some of them who you never thought they would, but they have actually left the party. You now ask what kind of sickness that caught them overnight that they felt it was important for them to leave and they actually left. It could have been because, you know, when Obasanjo was in government, if he would want to challenge you, he will now come with a piece of paper and flash it in your face, your offenses that you are committed, money given to you and didn't use the money very well. And so if you don't want your name to be marred on the board, what do? They will now say, join the camp or the caravan that is moving. Then you will now have to do that. That's exactly what I see some of them are really doing. They are not leaving the party simply because the ideology of the political party has failed them, because they are the ones that are supposed to form the ideology for us to follow. And if a governor who has successfully become a governor on the platform of PDP will now leave, it then means something fundamental is happening that most of us do not know. And so leaving the party to join, it could have been like a sickness only known to the owner of the body.
Right. Yeah, I've spoken to some PDP members, and one of the things that they've spoken before we go for our first break has been the fact that for those who in the South are living, the PDP has not been fair to the South. Because the Southeast specifically has offered, and the South have offered the PDP bond of votes in many years. Since 1999, the southern zone of Nigeria, specifically the Southeast and the South has been so faithful to the PDP. States like Akwa Ibom were already doing over 24 years with the PDP. River State almost doing 22 years with the PDP. Talk about Bayelsa. Bayelsa has done 26 years with the PDP. Cross River did about 18 years with the PDP. And different other states in the Southwest, South that has done so many years with the PDP. And some persons have complained that it seems the PDP was not careful or was not, giving back to this particular region and zone that's contributed so much to the party.
I think it's a very faulty kind of argument.
Right.
For them to consider themselves, that is the Southeast and the Southwest, South, given much to PDP over the years, and they didn't benefit. So the need to leave the party has become so necessary. I want to say it is not true. These governors, most of them, who you are saying that most of these two regions never had a benefit like the way they are having now. Which party did they use to get to that top echelon to become governor that today they are living?
Apart from their state.
They say use PDP.
Apart from their state.
Yes, they say use PDP.
In the national level.
Yeah, I do understand what you are saying.
Right.
I want to paint the scenario so that I understand clearly. Right. For them to now blame the party, not giving them the benefit of being members of the political party, looking at the way they were voting for party for over time. The question here is, most of these governors at a point before leaving, they wrote on the platform of PDP to become governors before they are leaving. If the party was bad then, I should have expected them not to use the party initially.
Right.
Do you understand? But for them to use the party to get to where they got to, and for them to live the way they have led, then the argument is not correct. The argument is never correct. I must tell you the truth. So it's just the individual ideology. He feels it's about time for him to leave. Probably some of them, they are seeking for second term, and they believe that the present administration or either APC have become so strong. The tendency here is by the time they plant a candidate in his own state is likely to defeat him. So let him move out immediately and then seek to become the flag bearer by the time the election will come over. And then he gets it easily. That's exactly what they are really doing. Because he's afraid of the next person that will be coming as an opposition for him. That could be a reason. And I told you earlier ago that indeed, one of the reasons is because some of them are corrupt in nature. And, you know, EFCC often checks some of these corrupt tendencies within the party, those who had ruled and those who are still in governance as it is now, and then they'll flash this paper for them.
But governors have immunity. At least for to the many years that they are going to be in power, they have immunity.
I'm not talking about criminal immunity per se, where you will not be arrested. But given, let's say you are given 10 naira and you have not used that 10 naira, and the person that gave you the 10 naira knows that you have the 10 naira, and you have not used the 10 naira, he comes and tells you this is the money I give to you and you didn't use it. You become so afraid. The next thing they will start campaigning, either on newspaper, that he collected so amount of money, he didn't use it. Some of these issues, they are afraid. Or do you want to be having litigation all through in your life by the time you leave office? You may not want that one. And so it becomes like a hiding place for most of these governors who are beginning to defect from their
right.
state.
You know, just butchering on that case as to the treatment of political parties, because people have argued to the fact that in 2023, right, prior to 2023, the PDP had somebody from the north as the national chairman of the party. And when Atiku Abubakar emerged as the presidential candidate of that party in Rivers State, some people like Nyesom Wike, who is still a member of that political party, he's still a PDP member, you know, made comments. Remember the G5 governor, Nyesom Wike, Owanyi, Autumn, Makinde, and I'm trying to remember one other governor, and Governor Nyesom, one of the other governors. The G5 governors, they were very, you know, serious about the demand that the party must treat all constituents well, and that will include giving the chairmanship position of the party to somebody from the south. And now we are still having, for instance, Bomi himself that was supposed to appear on the show, you know, and speak to us tonight. We're still having people from the north trying to contest for the chairmanship of that political party. Remember that after Ayu left, right? After Ayu left, we had Damagu, and Damagu is from the north. And if somebody from the north emerges again, don't you think there could be some balancing that should be done better by the political party that will help them? Maybe if they have somebody from the north emerge as national chairman, going, although they've also read about that, but you know that sometimes they speak and they do another thing. Yeah. Going deep into the convention, that's not this particular convention that is elective for party members, but the presidential convention, they should have somebody from the south to represent the party to balance things up.
Well, you know, some members of the political party of the PDP, so to speak, are still feeling a little bit uncomfortable with the way they were treated at the initial stage, the build-up to 2023 election. And so for the fact that they showed interest for some positions within the party, and then at the end of the day, it didn't work out the way they had really wanted, they have now become belligerent against the party, fighting the system. And so if it is like that, you will agree with me that they will continue to fight the system until the party is completely crumbled, that it cannot rise up again from its own ashes. That's exactly what some of them are really doing. You mentioned Wike. Wike was a prominent figure. I wouldn't know whether he's still a prominent figure, as much as I don't know whether he's sitting on the fence, one leg there and the other side. I wouldn't know. But from all indications, he has lost confidence in the political party. You all know what really happened, what took place at the convention that determined at the end of the day for Atiku to become the front runner of the political party for 2023. From that moment, Wike had been feeling a little bit uncomfortable, and I believe he has vowed within himself internally without telling anybody that he will work against the political party, the PDP, because what he wanted to get wasn't what he got at the end of the day. And so consistently he'll be hammering the party, and we're seeing the effect, seeing it seriously, campaigning for APC openly, and then again still in the PDP. So what else do you want? Do you want a magician to tell you that this is the direction he's going? Of course, he's actually there like a fifth columnist, as one would put it.
Right. So talking about the PDP and their disciplinary issues, right? We have like the governor who talked about the fact, this governor Adeleke, right? He made a statement in Osun State. There was a time he wanted to defect into the APC. We got reports, and it seems some factions, some members of the APC in Osun State were not happy with him coming. So that move was not able to, materialize. So he had to stay put. But he has said it very clear, and he's on record that he will be supporting Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027. Governor Ademola Adeleke have said that, and we have that in public clear. And the PDP is still giving such a person opportunity to lead the party. Let's talk about anti-party activities. Maybe that's one of the issues that is destroying the party, because people have talked about Nyesom Wike, like you mentioned. No sanction, somebody who has said publicly he will support an opposition political party when he is in this particular political party. Does it make sense of our democracy?
They might not be able to sanction Wike, looking at the fact that he's doing anti-party activities. They might not be able, because before he comes out to do whatever he wants to do, he comes in the position of the law against a particular action within the party. And so the members of the political party will not become so helpless, because he's using law to deal with them at a point. And so he will continue to be doing what he's doing. Like you rightly mentioned, Adeleke publicly coming out to say he will support Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027, while he's still in PDP. One thing to expect, and they cannot chase him out of the political party, because the party has actually is like a drowning political party. And if a person is drowning, taken away by water, whenever I see a little paper flying, he tries to grasp it, believing that he's finding a solution to escape out of it. But at the end of the day, it will not go to solve the problem. And that's why some of them are still there. Nobody is there to even tell them leave, because they are the ones who are determining the way things are supposed to be. And so the party is already drowning. Seriously, and nobody is there to say no, and they continue to use them despite they know very well that they are not with the party. The soul of the man that's called Adeleke is not with. It's only the body, but the soul is with the APC. You know it. The same thing. It's only the body of Wike that is in PDP, but the soul is the APC. So what do you do with this kind of people? So they are living a dual world, as a matter of fact. And so it becomes a very big problem. And again, the party does not have strong people to really fight them. And that's why people like David Mag, Atiku, and many others decided to leave, because at any point in time, they are going to be losing, even if by the time Wike comes up with a fact concerning them in the party. And so the only way is to abandon the party and create a new political party. And now they are romancing themselves in what is called Africa Democratic Congress. That's the party. Not that they really wanted to leave the PDP, but because of the challenges that are there. So they can't. The
challenges are dealt with. So let's go for our first break, and when we're back, Mr. Giva, we'll look at are there challenges that cannot be solved? The PDP convention, what are the issues? These are some of the things we are looking at tonight. Let's go for this break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This is still Big Talk. Tonight on the program, we're looking at PDP and its upcoming convention. But before then, let's get to play, for those who are just joining us, some of the things that happened when the accommodation subcommittee of the PDP met the other time in Abuja. With less than a month to the PDP National Convention, members of the accommodation subcommittee met to review hotel arrangements, delegate accommodation allocation, transport links from hotel to convention venue, and welfare support for attendees. The chairman of the committee and governor of Osun State, Senator Ademola Adeleke, said accommodation planning is a critical component of a successful convention and must reflect the unity and organization of the PDP.
So I don't want anybody to lose hope. I want everybody to keep hope alive. Contribute your quota. But if you know you don't belong here, nobody's forcing you to stay in PDP. But for you to say you want to stay in PDP and destroy it, it will not work. Yes. Because God is on the throne.
Also speaking, former Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs Kabiru Tanimu Turaki said accommodation logistics will be handled professionally to avoid confusion during the national event.
Let me say that each and every one of you were carefully selected into this committee. If you look at yourselves and the people around you, you will see that this committee is different from other committees.
With accommodation arrangements now at advanced stage, the committee says it is confident that delegates attending the PDP National Convention in Ibadan will have a seamless experience. Ubong Usoro for Global Television News. All right, so that video was actually the accommodation subcommittee of the PDP that met recently in Abuja, where we had Governor Nuruddin Adeleke of Osun State as the chairman of that particular subcommittee, and former Minister of Special Duties Turaki as one of the representing the party, who is also the vice chairman of the National Convention Planning Committee of the party. A lot of plans going in. Just yesterday, somebody sent me an invoice of some of the expenses that will be done during the convention, and it runs into millions of naira, of course. And somebody will want to ask, who is funding a party that seems to be dying at this particular time?
You said they have 8 governors left.
Of course they do.
Are there no governors in Nigeria? The money that we use is there. So the assessment whether or not who.
So there's still a big political party.
Or even one governor can actually do that. Not talk about having 8 governors. So the issue of money, where is it coming from, doesn't really arise. Besides, most of them are already rich. You don't know the businesses they run.
Right.
So to take money somewhere aside from government money sent to them to carry out certain functions, they themselves as individuals are equally rich.
Right.
And so they can make money available for a particular reason if there is a need for that at all.
Right. So let's look at our position in Nigeria now as we try to wind down this conversation. PDP, have they failed as an opposition party in Nigeria?
If they have
failed.
Well, the failure is determined with the way they are able to manage themselves. But I will see they are failing. I wouldn't say they have failed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a heart that dies gradually. That's the way I see the party. But I wouldn't know, because one fundamental thing with political party in life is there's always an implosion within the party. That some people will feel disenchanted and they want to leave the party. Probably because what they thought they would get, they didn't get. And so it's to create chaos. It happened with PDP. When PDP was like the ultimate party all over Nigeria. And so
they had 28 states.
Yeah, so when they were meeting in Egu Square, people like Bukola Saraki, Atiku, they called themselves the new
PDP. I remember.
And they left. They called themselves out. They called members of the party, they should leave this convention. And many of them left. That brought about gradual failure of the party from that moment. And the same people who did that are the same people, again, coming back to the party, seeking for mandate. How does it really work?
And some of them, Bukola Saraki is still a member of the PDP.
I know, but he was one of the persons.
Yes, he was.
So that's why they find it very difficult to grip the party very well. Because you cannot do injury to your house and want to go back to sleep.
Right.
It can't work. And the fact, you can imagine they were using power and they were fighting the system that provides power for them, or that was providing power for them. Now they have lost power, they have not seen the danger of losing power. Then they are now coming back. Whoever told them to do what they did, they have not seen the result of it. And they are now standing there to suffer fighting all over the place.
But during one of the sessions of the PDP that I attended, they mentioned some indices that they are going to use to tell Nigerians. They mentioned that during the time of the PDP, a bag of rice was about the 7,000 naira, they said, or whatever. They mentioned the forex. They mentioned a lot of indices that Nigerians were faring better during the time of the PDP. Gimba, you were around during that time, and you covered some of the activities of this political party.
Sure.
Will you say Nigerians fared better when the PDP held sway 1999 to 2020?
Faring better as at the time when PDP was in government was that Nigeria was good. There were no issues of insecurity like the way we have today. People have left their villages and they are settling in new havens like Abuja and other cities because they can't go back to the rural areas to farm. Do you get? PDP had it good because as the exit of PDP, that was the beginning of insecurity. And so things that we used to have and we're getting them almost cheaper, it's not the same thing today because nearly everybody becomes vulnerable. You are either being attacked or you have been attacked, or either your relative have been killed or being about to be killed. We are still struggling with the problem today. And so things are not the way they used to be. And so when they make that comparison, it's because Nigeria was sleeping as at that time. Things were good, nobody was challenging you. I remember when we were traveling to Kaduna, I remember myself, I used to present programs. I would leave 10 o'clock to Kaduna using my car, 10 o'clock in the night. And you successfully get to your home without anybody challenging you. You dare not do that. Has it not affected the way things are supposed to be? Probably if drivers were using the night to make money, they are no longer doing that. Why can't we have rice, the price of rice going higher or whatever you call it, to go higher? So there are a lot of challenges today. Farmers are no longer assessing their farmland, or either they have cultivated, the headsmen push their cows.
But the PDP is saying that we were responsible for the peace and progress in Nigeria between 1999 to 2025, and if you give us opportunity again, we are going to make sure that this problem insecurity started possibly in 2009 and 2010 and became so prominent in 2011. You know, it didn't spread to this country. It was restricted to a particular zone. That's a particular region. That was not east. It didn't go to an extent that they are even knocking at your door and picked you with your family. It had not gone to that level like the way it is today. And so the management was quite very okay. They even failed. They could have crushed it at that moment before it could spread to this like the way we are seeing it. And so it's a failure. I can even say this government is even trying. Now it has become a national issue. You find them everywhere, kidnapping, killing, eating crops, all this, that, all over the country. Nobody is safe. But in that time when PD was in government, it restricted itself only to but it was unable to crush the insecurity until it could get to where we are today. And so they have nothing to say. Will they be able to say, right, we get, but who is in the farm? Who is in the farm? Nobody. Many people are doing kabu here because these were the people who were cultivating crops for us, and they will now ship this food produce to the city center for us to buy. They are all here with us. Right. So why can't we say rice 100,000 naira per bag? It's very obvious that was supposed to be. And whether or not it's going to crash, nobody knows, because there's no end at sight for us to say, yes, it's going to end. Right. Okay, so as we try to rewind down the conversation now, what are your post-mortem to the PDP? What can they do better? As a political party, we have people like Sodi and the rest of them who are saying, give us the mantle of leadership, we are going to reposition this political party. What can they do better to reposition the party?
Let them be sincere to themselves. Let them identify those that are considered to be adversaries to the party. Because nobody bites the finger that fits it. This is exactly what some of them they are. But I know in politics, we have moles that will be planted in a political party that will work against the interest of the party for some other person who are outside the party. So that at the end of the day, it will crash, like the way we're seeing it today. Very many political parties are having this cancer, because there are so many moles inside those political parties working against the interests of those political parties, so that at the end of the day, they will fizzle out quietly. That's exactly what I... So until PDP is able to identify those ones and be sincere to itself as a political party, and then create a mantra, a slogan that will actually buy in the conscience of Nigerians, so that at the end of the day, when they are campaigning, we'll not see justification on really voting for PDP or not.
All right, so tonight we're supposed to have one of the persons who was trying to lead the PDP as a chairman joined us, and sadly, maybe because of network technicalities, we weren't able to connect with him. But we had in-house analyst, National Assembly correspondent, join us tonight to help make sense of the discussion. Remember that on July the 24th, the PDP at its 101st National Convention, National Executive Council meeting, NEC, announced that they were going to have their convention in Ibadan, Oyo State capital, on the 14th and on the 15th of December 2025. On September the 2nd, 2025, the PDP formally inaugurated that particular convention organizing committee, and the secretary of that committee was Governor Peter Amba, Enugu State Governor at the time, PDP member, and also the chairman, Governor Amadu Finturi, who is Adamawa State Governor. And they spoke very tough about the fact that those who are causing mayhem in the party will be fished out and will be dealt with. But just as we're having it, as the convention comes closer now, we've had people move from the PDP, right? And even the secretary of the National Convention Planning Committee at the time has just moved from the PDP and even had to be replaced by Ben Obi.
I wanted to correct the particular something you read here as the issue of jailing people who defy minors in the National Assembly is one of the results that the Senate was concurring what House of Reps, brought to it, whether or not it should become a law, so that they'll send it for assent. It didn't see the light of the day because there was some kind of disagreement, so they stepped it down.
Right.
They stepped it down.
So, that means Gimba was in the House. I'm not arguing that's an authority.
They stepped it down.
Yeah, he's a National Assembly correspondent. That's coming from authority. Thank you so much, Gimba, for your wealth of experience. And like you say, first the fact on Big Talk. Thank you so much for speaking facts to us tonight. And that's how we end the show for tonight. My name is Ubongu Sori in Abuja, and I'm saying love Nigeria and be a responsible citizen. Let Nigeria succeed. Bye for now.